They basically called me the computer geek, then used my thing to rescue the family company and tried to get rid of me with $5 million. Like I was some kind of easily dismissed techie. I can still hear my mom's voice, all calm and controlled, echoing in that huge ballroom. Lily, you just don't have what it takes to be a leader. Your sister, Vanessa, she's got the presence, the business smarts. You're good with computers, sure, but Vanessa, she understands people. The whole gala went silent. Hundreds of people, investors, partners, even our own employees were staring at us. They all witnessed my very public humiliation. That giant gold banner on stage, bragging about $250 million in profit, felt like a slap in the face. Especially when my mom handed Vanessa a giant check for $1.5 million, a leadership bonus for a change she had absolutely nothing to do with. Vanessa just stood there all gracious, saying, "Thank you, Mother, I'm so honored," and basking in the applause. I forced a smile and raised my champagne glass, but inside I felt this cold, hard knot forming in my gut. 6 months of lost sleep. Thousands of lines of code I'd hammered out in my tiny apartment after already working all day at the office. The entire inventory system that single-handedly dragged Anderson Supply Chain Solutions back from the brink of collapse, and they gave my sister all the credit. She couldn't code her way out of a paper bag. "Hey, I'm Lily Anderson, and I'm a software developer, 29 years old, and well, I have a kid no one seems to see." My family's business, Anderson's Supply Chain Solutions, was on the brink. It had been losing money for ages. Our tech was totally outdated, and we just couldn't keep up with the competition. We were in real trouble. Then our biggest client threatened to bail, which meant we'd lose like 40% of our business. I saw my chance to prove what I could do for my family. I built this app, Symbiose. It totally changed how we worked. Everything was smoother, and we kept all our clients and got tons of new ones too. In 6 months, we went from almost nothing to making $250 million. That's a 400% jump. I thought tonight was supposed to be my big moment. But instead, I got a pat on the head like a good dog, while Vanessa, with her fancy MBA and charm, got handed the reins to the company I saved. A speech. Someone even started crying when she walked up to the stage, her smile all lit up by the ballroom lights. She said Anderson Supply Chain Solutions was always about family and innovation, and about that app that changed everything. Oh, it was a real team effort, apparently. She acknowledged my technical contribution, and I just nodded, listening to her describe 6 months of my innovative software development as a technical contribution. As the night wore on, I drifted around, getting pats on the back from people who knew who really created Symbiose. The thing is, no one knew the truth, not even my mom, Vanessa, or anyone else in that fancy ballroom. I'd never actually handed over the software to Anderson Supply Chain Solutions. And that tiny detail was gonna be a big deal real soon. The Andersons, that was my family. We'd been doing logistics since my grandpa hauled construction stuff in a single truck after the war, and each generation grew the business. My mom took it nationwide in the 90s. Everyone always figured Vanessa, who was 5 years older, would take over. She had the business degree, the polished act, and most importantly, Mom's complete faith. Me, I was the black sheep. I was more into computers than boardrooms, happier coding by myself than schmoozing at those business parties. My dad, he passed away a decade ago. He always believed in me. "Lily sees the future," he'd always tell my mom. "She gets systems in ways the rest of us just can't." After Dad died, I wanted to prove him right, so I got a computer science degree, then a master's in artificial intelligence, thinking my skills would eventually fit in at the family company. So I came back with my fancy degrees, and Mom, she just stuck me in it, supporting all our ancient, clunky systems instead of, actually improving things. "We're a trucking company, not some Silicon Valley startup," she'd always say if I even hinted at upgrading anything. "Let's just stick with what we know." Meanwhile, Vanessa, she was being groomed for the top, shadowing Mom in all those big meetings, schmoozing with everyone important. I didn't begrudge her success. She's a natural, great with people, a real networker that's huge in our business. But what stung was how they kept downplaying what I did. All my tech skills, suddenly just some weird hobby, not something valuable to the company. Then 6 months back, our biggest client almost walked. Our tracking system was so hopelessly outdated. I saw my chance. I went to Mom, pitched her this idea. "Give me 6 months, I'll build an app, something that'll completely change how we handle shipping." She just waved me off. "We don't have the money for a whole team of programmers," she said, real dismissive. "You don't need one," I told her. "I can do it myself." She laughed. Actually, I laughed first, then Vanessa stepped in. "Let her try, Mom," she said. "What have we got to lose?" It wasn't a ringing endorsement, but it was enough. I got a tiny budget and 6 months to prove myself. Neither of them knew, though, that I'd been working on this thing for almost a year already. I'd been building the whole thing, the basic structure, in my apartment, nights and weekends. I'd been officially on the job for a few days before I got back to coding. I stayed up late, documenting everything. Every single line of code, every choice I made, every little victory, partly because it's good practice, but also because Vanessa's help felt more like a power play than actual support. This project was my shot to prove myself to the family business, and I wasn't naive enough to think sisters couldn't be competitive. Still, I never saw this coming the way they completely dismissed my work last night, the sinking feeling that they might always see me as just the tech girl. The morning after the gala, I got to the office early. I needed to clear my head before the inevitable conversations about Vanessa taking charge. My little development lab was tucked away in the basement of our Seattle building, hidden just like my contributions to the company. When I walked in, I was shocked. Vanessa was already there, looking over the whiteboard where I'd sketched out the symbiote design. She hadn't bothered to come down once during the whole process. "Morning," I said, dropping my laptop bag, checking out my work. For a split second, she actually looked embarrassed. "Don't be like that, Meg," she said. "Last night was just business, nothing personal." "Stealing credit for my work feels pretty personal to me," I snapped back. Vanessa sighed and sat on the edge of my desk. "I get it, you handled the technical stuff, but Mom's right. This place needs a friendly face, someone who can actually talk to people. The clients like me. And that's supposed to be why I get the bonus, the promotion, like you had anything to do with the app that saved the company. I just don't buy that the app is company property. Developed by an Anderson employee for Anderson Supply Chain Solutions," she said, her voice shifting from trying to be nice to a total business mode. "Your pay covered that same as any other job." That hit me like a punch in the gut. Not because she was mean, but because it showed how totally my family didn't give a damn about me or how business works nowadays. They really thought the software was the company's just because I worked there and I'm an Anderson. "I wanted to give you a heads up," Vanessa said. I guess she thought I was okay with it. "Mom's announcing the new bosses this morning. You're being promoted to Chief Technology Officer." "CTO?" I asked, totally shocked. "It's a big step up from IT manager," she said. "And a 30% raise. We appreciate everything you've done, Meg, really. But the company needs clear leadership, and that means—" "That means me," I finished. "Because I'm just the tech person, right?" She patted my shoulder as she got up to leave. "I knew you'd understand. The board meeting starts at 9. Try not to be late. It doesn't look professional." So after she stormed out, I just sat there at my desk, staring at all that crazy, complicated stuff I'd drawn on my whiteboard. All those late nights, all that brainpower, and it all came down to me being the lowly tech guy, happy to get a tiny promotion while my sister raked in the big bucks and the real glory. I fired up my laptop and went to this folder. Symbio's Legal. Months of work I'd done, stuff I'd hoped I'd never actually need. Copyright stuff, dates showing when I hit different project goals, all my code on GitHub proving it was all me. And the best part, proof I'd built most of the app on my own time, using my own stuff. I'd been hoping my family would just, see what I'd done. That hope went poof last night, right in front of everyone. Time for backup plan. I grabbed my phone and called this number I had saved but never thought I'd actually use. "Heather, it's Lily Anderson," I said. "I need your help, really need it. When can you get to my office?" At 8:55, I was outside the boardroom, Heather Preston right there beside me. Heather's a big deal, one of Seattle's top lawyers for this kind of thing. Just her being there would send a message. But the papers in her fancy briefcase, those would do way more talking. "You sure about this, Lily?" she asked, real calm. "Once we walk in, there's no turning back. Things with your family, they'll never be the same." "I know," I told her. "Things weren't working, and after last night, they never will." At exactly 9:00, we walked into that boardroom. Mom sat at the top of the table, Vanessa right beside her. The rest of the seats were filled with board members, mostly folks who'd been backing Anderson Supply Chain Solutions for years. All eyes were on Heather, clearly wondering who this lady in the sharp suit was. "Lily, you're right on time," Mom said, but the smile didn't quite make it to her eyes. "And you brought a friend." "This is Heather Preston, my lawyer," I explained, sitting down across from Vanessa. "I think the first thing we need to talk about today is the new leadership setup, since that affects me directly." You could practically feel the room get colder. Mom's smile vanished. "I didn't realize you thought you needed a lawyer for a family business meeting," she said, frowning. "Me neither, not until last night showed me just how different family and business are around here." Mom looked at the other board members like she was trying to manage the situation. "Maybe we should talk about this in private first, Lily." Actually, I think everyone on the board needs to hear this, I said. They have a responsibility to the company, after all, and what I'm about to say has a big impact on Anderson's most valuable asset. Heather opened her briefcase and passed out papers to everyone. This is a draft licensing agreement for the Symbiose app, which legally belongs to Lily Anderson. She created it, and she owns the copyright. The room buzzed with confused whispers. I snatched up the papers, my cheeks burning as I read. This was insane. This is absurd, Mom cried out. The app, she said, was made for Anderson Supply Chain Solutions by one of their employees, so it belonged to the company. Heather, though, stayed ice cold. That be true, she said, if she'd only worked on it during company hours, using company stuff and as part of her job. But she went on, our info shows about 78% of the work happened on her own time, using her own stuff, way outside her IT manager duties. I'd put together a second, way bigger document packed with timestamps, code updates, everything showing when and where I'd done the work. It's a family business, Mom said, starting to crack. We don't need all this legal stuff. I'm not playing games, Mom, I said softly. I'm just protecting what's mine, and I'm still trying to help the company. The licensing deal is amazing, way better than anything we could get from some outside company. Vanessa exploded. You're holding your own family hostage, she yelled, slamming the agreement onto the table. After everything we've done for you? What exactly have you done for me, Vanessa? I asked. Taken credit for my work, given me a bonus for my ideas. Harold Jameson, a board member, a venture capitalist, and Dad's friend, cleared his throat. Okay, so let me tell you about this. I really wanted to go over these papers before we went any further. If what Ms. Anderson said is true, we needed to be super careful. Mom seemed totally fooled by his calm act. Harold, seriously, you're actually considering this whole thing. It's not a rebellion, Alina, he said. It's just business. And if my daughter's invented something really valuable, she has every right to protect it, he added. Then he looked right at me. Lily, he asked, what's your goal here? What are you hoping to get out of this? Before I could even answer, Mom jumped in. Her plan is obviously to shake us down for money, she said, by threatening to pull the plug on the tech our customers rely on. She gave me this icy stare. So is that it? More money. A better title? It really hurt what she said, but I kept my cool. I want them to acknowledge what I've done, I said, and give me a fair share of the company's future. Symbiose isn't just a little improvement, it is the business now, and I deserve a voice in where it goes from here. That's when things got really tense. You could see it in Mom and my sister's faces. This was just the beginning. Heather calmly showed everyone the proof I owned it all during this crazy board meeting that went on forever. Harold and a couple of other board members who knew tech asked some really tough questions. They were clearly taking this seriously. But Mom and Vanessa, they just got more and more worked up. Look, Mom said, even if, and it's a big if, Lily actually has some legal right to the software, pulling it now would kill the company. It would screw everyone over, Lily included. It's just a temper fit because she didn't get to be CEO. I'm not threatening to take the software away, I repeated for like the third time. The licensing deal means Anderson Supply Chain Solutions can keep using Symbiose, no problem. I'm just saying I own the code and deserve the right to get paid properly, plus control over how it's developed. Which, yeah, screws up the leadership plan they announced last night, Vanessa explained. Basically, if you control the app that runs everything, you control the whole shebang, no matter what your fancy title is. She was right, and that's why my family should have thought about the consequences before completely ignoring what I did. Harold called a quick break, and the board members bylaid, leaving me with Heather in the conference room. I could see through the glass walls that Mom and Vanessa were having a heated chat with the company's lawyer, who they'd called in the middle of the meeting. They're gonna come at you with something, Heather warned. Just stick to what you're trying to achieve. When we got back to the meeting 30 minutes later, Mom's face had shifted from angry to calculating, which I'd seen a million times growing up, watching her run the business. Okay, so I was changing things up, trying a new approach. After talking things over with my lawyer, we knew Lily might have some claim to the Symbiose app. She kept going, and you could tell it was hard for her to say. To keep the peace and keep the business running smoothly, we were ready to offer a really good deal. The company's lawyer sent around some papers, offering a one-time payment of $5 million in exchange for giving up all rights to the app. That was 5 times more than Vanessa got as a bonus. Mom wanted to make it clear that my technical work was being acknowledged while letting the company keep going with a steady leader. For most people, $5 million is a huge deal, enough to change your whole life. But Symbiose was more than just a bunch of code to me. I was hoping to change not just Anderson's Supply Chain Solutions, but maybe the entire logistics industry. The app I built was worth way more than $5 million, both in terms of money and what it could do. Before I could even say anything, Harold spoke up. He said he looked at the technical stuff and that Lily's work was way beyond what you'd expect from a regular employee. This wasn't just an app, he said. It was a whole new way of thinking about how logistics could work in the digital world. A few other board members agreed with him. I felt this amazing sense of validation, like finally, people got what I had done. But he explained, splitting up control of something so essential just opens the door to some serious business problems. If we're saying Lily owns it, then we have to talk about who's in charge. Like, what does that even mean? Mom asked, her voice hard. Basically, we need to think about whether the way we've always planned for who runs things still makes sense. With everything changing, this whole idea that maybe I'd be a better boss than Vanessa was just hanging there unsaid. I was totally shocked when two other board members immediately said they agreed. Mom's face got real serious. This board doesn't tell the family who runs things. The Andersons are still the ones in charge, and we've decided, the company lawyer jumped in, looking super uncomfortable if the symbiote stuff actually belongs to Lily. And since it's so important to the business, it makes things really tricky to decide who's in charge. That's when I realized things were way more complicated than I thought. This wasn't just about my place in the family anymore. I might be taking over the whole company, the one my grandpa built. Mom seemed to get it too. She looked at me from across the table, and for the first time ever, I saw something new in her eyes. Fear. The meeting ended with everyone on edge. Mom asked for a day to think things over before we met again, and the board went along with it. Vanessa grabbed my arm as people started clearing out. "What's your game?" she asked, all low and serious. Trying to make Mom look bad, grab the company, get even because I got that bonus. I stayed calm and said, I built something amazing and I deserve the credit. I mean real credit, the money, and a say in what happens next. I want to shape this tech's future. She said, so you don't just want to be CTO, you want my job. I pulled my arm away. I never wanted your job, Vanessa. But I've earned a place at the table when we're talking about my tech. If that bothers you, maybe you should figure out why. Her face froze. You have no idea what you've done. Mom isn't just going to give up the company, not even to family. I kinda joked, starting to think I wasn't really family to begin with, more like the weird tech geek they keep in the basement until they need something. Seeing her hurt, I felt bad, even though I knew I wasn't wrong. Before she could say anything, her phone buzzed. She checked it, then gave me this look I couldn't read. Mom wants to see you, her office, 15 minutes. Heather freaked out after Vanessa left, worried I'd go see Mom without a lawyer. I told her I could handle a family chat. Text me if you need backup, she said before she took off. Mom's office, the one right on the corner, had a great view of the Seattle harbor. You could see the Space Needle way off in the distance when it was nice out. I walked in, and she was already there, staring out the window like a statue. Close the door, she said, her voice tight. So I did what she told me and waited. The quiet felt like forever until she finally spoke, still looking out at the water. Do you realize what your grandfather started with? One truck. He drove it himself, hauling stuff for construction all over Washington. He'd sleep in it when he had to. She finally turned around to face me. He built this company with sheer grit, just him. Your father, he grew it, by knowing everybody. He knew everyone in the business, remembered their kids' names, sent birthday cards, all that. I know the history, I said. No, you don't, she cut me off. You know the sugar-coated version we tell at company parties? You don't know how close we came to losing it all, how many times. You don't know your father mortgaged our house twice to make sure everyone got paid during those recessions. You don't know that I didn't take a paycheck for 3 years so we could update our warehouses. She walked over to her desk and opened a drawer, pulling out this huge binder. You think this is about some app? Who gets the credit? It's about 70 years of Andersons busting their asses and making sacrifices. She slammed the folder down on the desk. Your technology is incredible. Seriously, it's amazing. But an app, that can be copied, improved, replaced. You know, what really matters can't be swapped out the company's good name, who are connected to the people. I walked up to her desk kinda nervous. Messing with the company was the last thing I wanted. So, Lily, what do you want? She asked. Tell me straight up, what are you hoping for? Harold had said almost the same thing, but coming from my mom, it hit different. For once, she seemed genuinely curious, not just assuming. I want to be appreciated for what I do, I told her flat out. Not just with a paycheck, but I want a say in where we're headed. The app isn't just some tech thing. It's a whole new way of doing business, and I want to help decide what happens with it. Mom looked me over for a bit before opening the folder. Inside was a new plan, not a buyout this time, but a shake-up. Well, maybe Anderson's supply chain solutions needs to change too. The paper laid out a wild idea. They'd split off the tech into its own company, Anderson Tech, and they'd sell the software to other businesses, not just ours. And guess who they wanted to run it? Me. This wasn't just a given, it was a battle, and everything had changed in a flash. The next day, the board met again with even more stuff on the agenda. Mom was at the head of the table, taking charge like she'd done for years, after thinking and talking it over. "Okay, so here's my plan for a strategic reshuffle at Anderson Supply Chain Solutions," she said, just practically glowing with this confidence. But I could see the nervousness behind it. The Symbius app had really opened our eyes to what's possible for the company. She laid out this idea to split off Anderson Tech as its own thing, and I'd be in charge. While Vanessa would stay in charge of the old-school logistics, both businesses would still be under the Anderson family name, which would create a more diverse company. This whole plan was supposed to give a nod to what we've already built while embracing what Lily's new tech could bring. She made a point of looking each board member in the eye as she was talking. When she was finished, everyone looked right at me. It was pretty smart, because it acknowledged that I owned the invention but without giving up complete control. Plus, it included things that would make sure my mom, as chair, would still have the final say over both boards. "Thanks for the proposal," I said, trying to sound solid, but I knew we had to change things. I nodded at Heather, who handed out the counter-proposal I'd been working on all night. While I agreed with the basic idea of separating the companies, my version would give Anderson Tech its own independence by having its own board made up of people who really knew the tech world, not just family friends. The contract also said Anderson Tech could look for other business, even though the family's shipping company would be our biggest customer. But the really important part, I made it crystal clear that I owned the Symbiose tech and they'd have to pay me to use it. No ifs, ands, or buts. My invention, my rules. Harold was the first to chime in. He thought Lily's offer was fair, even smart, a win-win for both companies. Then one by one, the others agreed. Right there, I saw the family's power balance flip completely. Half a year later, I was accepting a huge award, the Symbiote Pacific Northwest Technology Innovation Award, at a fancy event, all on my own. Anderson Tech had exploded. We had 30 employees, 3 major clients outside the family business, and were on track to make $500 million that year. Mom was there looking proud, but also kind of defeated. Vanessa clapped politely, but things were still awkward between us. Her shipping company was doing okay, but it wasn't the family's main moneymaker anymore, and she was still getting used to that. When I got the award, I just said, "You never know where the next big thing is gonna come from." Sometimes the hardest part isn't actually building something cool. It's about finally owning what you built. After the whole thing was over, Mom came up to me. She seemed a little out of place amidst all the tech people, like her years of knowing how to get things done didn't matter as much. "Your dad would be so proud," she whispered. Her voice sounded different. "He always said you looked at things differently than everyone else." I just said, "Thanks, that means a lot." I couldn't believe how real it felt. Then she looked around at everyone networking. "I didn't get this world, or you. I won't do that again." It wasn't exactly an apology, but Mom, Elena Anderson, was as close as she was ever going to get. When she left, I didn't feel the way I thought I would. Winning didn't taste how I thought it would, kinda bitter. I got famous, freedom, all the things I wanted, but somehow it messed things up with my family. Harold showed up with a champagne. "To the future of Anderson Tech," he said, raising his glass. "Your grandpa built an empire with just one truck. Imagine what you'll do with an app." I smiled and tapped my glass against his. "I already am. We're just getting started." I was looking around the room, watching everyone gather to cheer for the tech I created, and it hit me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about dragging people down. It's about reaching places they never thought you'd get to, and then just taking your spot at the top, like you deserve it.